Winston. Winston Amoah is still with me here in studio. Very interesting revelation. The whole justification for the new register was the presence of minors and foreigners, but we still have them on the register.
Well, Daniel, I think last 2 weeks when I spoke with Dr. Sribo Kwaku, his explanation was, well, your guess is as good as mine. You always would have minors on a voters register. The challenge the Electoral Commission would have is its ability to know who is a minor or not. You can always argue that if we have a Ghana card that all Ghanaians have, we certainly be able to tell whether you are 18 years or not 18 years. The challenge also is for the registration of the Ghana cards, for instance. Are we certain of the ages that people show and come up with? There's always that challenge, and the politicians always have a way of registering, minors or foreigners. Look, let's be honest with ourselves. If there's one group of persons we should always blame for all of this, it is because elections are won right from the registration of voters. If you're able to get your friends to register, or if you're able to get people you know are going to support you to register, then you certainly can say, you know what, I think I'm certain I'm going to win this.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why you see minors being registered. The Electoral Commission knows. My understanding, and based on the analysis, is that they had a belief that they could actually reduce this. They had a belief that with the new system they were putting in place, they could get this, out of the way, but it didn't seem like it worked.
I heard the numbers you read for the Upper East and Upper West region and how there was an increase if you look at the 2019 register. Does that suggest that perhaps that's being a border region, persons could have crossed the border to register?
So there was actually a decrease in the Upper East region and an increase in the Upper West region. But my point is that if you look at the figures, in some of the regions, there's been a decrease. That would suggest to you, for instance, if you go to the Volta region, there's been a decrease. Now, if I say the Volta, I'm using the OT and the Volta region.
Together. So by how much?
So in 2020, at the just end of the registration, so we have 1,282,814.
For the OT and Volta region.
OT and Volta. In 2019, we have 1,385,000. So that's a reduction of over 100,000. But there's something unique here. In 2004, so let's look at the Volta region figures. In 2000, they had 983,588. By the time they compiled a new voters register in 2004, that number had reduced to 819,466, a reduction of almost 160,000.
So it's a trend as opposed to a removal of foreigners?
That trend, Daniel, is not a trend you see in all regions. In some regions you see it, at another time you don't see it. And so it looks like this, and if I look at the Volta region, I'm going to do this analysis. Very controversial, but I'm going to do this. So in 2008 then, the number increases to 1,012,000. But in 2012, we compiled a new voters register. When we compiled the new voters register, the number increased again in the Volta region from the 1,012,000 to 1,156,000.
Okay.
But then, in 2020, it's reduced. We've seen it happening in the Western region from 2000 to 2004. Okay? And we've seen it happening again in the Western region from 2019 to 2020.
So what's the suggestion here?
The suggestion is that in some of these border regions, a closure of borders sometimes affects the number of people who come in. And this is social science. I'm inferring.
That's interesting.
I'm inferring.
It's an interesting inference from the deputy head of our political desk, Winston Amoah, who joined us for some analysis of the numbers from the Electoral Commission this morning.